I recently asked a Bucks County elementary school if they would participate in a survey in preparation for this TED Talks. The 2nd through 6th grade enrichment class was proposed a question. And the question that they were asked was, what does this phrase mean to you? Keep your light on, and I'm not talking about a light switch. Well, some of the students wrote their answers while others drew pictures. And I was just amazed and overjoyed by the responses that I received, that I was literally brought to tears. But the common thread that I found through all of the surveys that I received, that keeping their light on meant to them to never give up, to keep thinking about happiness, and to never allow others to never allow other people's opinions get them down or made them sad. Well, very emotional intelligence was something that I never had growing up as a kid. In fact, growing up for me was not easy and at times quite difficult. My father, who at the age of 10 months old, contracted a virus called polio. And thanks to vaccinations, it's no longer around. And many of you probably have never heard of it. But what it does is it destroys your muscle tissues in your body and it makes you weak. And that virus, my father's legs took the brunt of that virus, and he lost his ability to walk without the support of crutches or braces on his legs. And he was labeled a cripple. Now, growing up as a kid, it was difficult going out with him because people would stop and stare at us, whether we were at the mall or in the grocery store. And it made me feel very uncomfortable. And I always had to explain to my friends. They would ask me when I was a kid, what's wrong with your dad? Why does he walk that way? Was he injured? Or was he in a car accident? And I began to diminish my light. And when I began to diminish my light, that uncomfortability followed me in other areas in my life. And for one instance, I remember I was trying out for the girls' basketball team in the 7th grade. And I was waiting my turn to do my layups, and I was sitting on a basketball, and some girl, for whatever reason, came over to me and kicked the basketball right out from underneath me, making me land on my butt. And I was so full of embarrassment that when it was my time to do my layup, well, I didn't do so well, and I didn't make the team. And I was frustrated, and I was angry, because I allowed others to get me down. And I went home, and I was on my bed crying, and my father came into my room. And he said to me, or he asked me what was wrong, and I told him everything. And I remember what he said to me. He said, Tracie, you can never allow other people's actions make your anger become the wind that blows out your light. You gotta keep your light on. You gotta keep going, no matter what. And coming from a man who was teased for the way that he looked and walked, he sure knew what it meant to keep his light on. And at the time, I didn't know that those words meant so much to me, but it was some of the best advice that my father ever gave. And even though I allowed others to tease me because I'm Greek and I have this long last name and it's hard to pronounce, and I was teased a lot in school because I was a smart kid, school came easy to me, I got good grades, and somehow, some way, I made it through. And I got married and I had a baby boy. His name is Jonah. And I wanted to turn my light back on for him. I didn't want him to grow up the way I did. Afraid, insecure, and I did a feeling of not fitting in. So I heard of a place that you can go to alleviate all of that negative experiences and turn your light back on. And that place is called a sweat lodge. The sweat lodge is a Native American ritual where you go into the lodge and you sweat out all of your bad juju. And when you come out, you feel refreshed, restored, and renewed. Well, that wasn't, the experience for me wasn't really a positive one, because it's over 100 degrees inside the sweat lodge, and it's pitch black in there, and I'm afraid of the dark. And I overheated, and I stopped breathing. I literally suffocated in there, and I nearly died. And I stopped breathing for about a minute and a half. And in that minute and a half, I believe I had an experience with heaven. Now, I'm not asking you to accept what I'm about to say, and I'm not asking you to believe what I'm going to say. I can only tell you what I know and what I experienced. I met a man who, in heaven, he had a long white robe on, and he had short brown hair, and he had a beard, and he had the prettiest blue eyes that I ever seen. And I felt very, very peaceful, and I felt very loved, and I felt very, very safe. And he never introduced himself as Jesus, but he sure looked like the guy that I saw in church growing up as a kid, all the pictures I would see. And he said to me, "Tracie, we're not here to judge you. We're here to do a review. How have you been compassionate towards your fellow friend?" And I couldn't answer him. And he knew I couldn't answer him. So he showed me on a rock a video, a movie of myself in the 3rd grade being a safety guard crossing over the kindergartners up on Nelson Street where I grew up. And he said to me, "You've always been compassionate towards your fellow friends, but you kind of make things up in your head that they think of you. They don't think those things of you. And you're going to go back. It's not your time. And you're going to do great things. And you're going to serve them." And I said, "Oh, no, I'm not going back there. I'm staying right here in heaven with you. Those people are mean there. They hurt me. They tease me." And he said, "It's not your time. You're going to go back and you're going to do great things." And it took me seeing my grandmother, who is in heaven, who helped raise me. She said to me, "Tracie, you can't stay here. You got to go back. And we'll see each other again one day." And even though I was unconscious for 4 hours, I did wake up to my baby boy's face and his big blue eyes. And I heard myself say, "I'll stay for him. I'll stay for Jonah." And I went back to earth. Now, over the 6 months to a year after that happened, it was hard, it was difficult, but I learned a couple of things along the way. And one of those things that I learned was, one, I was in a lot of pain and didn't realize it, but I also learned 4 power principles to help me keep my light on and to never allow my light to ever go off again. And the first one I learned was, and I would like to share these with you, is to care for others, don't carry them. And what that means is when we carry other people's opinions of us and what they think of us, it really diminishes your light and makes you weak. And if I was to ask you to hold out a glass of water in front of you, how long do you think you could hold that glass of water? Maybe a couple of minutes, maybe a half an hour? But if I was to ask you to hold that glass of water a week or a day or a month, it would become so heavy that you would buckle to your knees and you wouldn't be able to stand up straight. You wouldn't be able to think straight. And you diminish your light. So care for others, don't carry them. The second power principle I learned to keep my light on was observe others, don't absorb them. We all have priorities and goals in our lives, and at times we get distracted by what other people think we should do or say. And just as you should stay away from somebody who has the flu, you too should stay away from somebody who has a case of stinking thinking. You know, have you ever been around somebody who's in a negative mood and you were in a perfectly good mood and then you become negative? You know, it sounds like common sense, but we all do it from time to time. In fact, just the other day, I was at the post office, and in my area, my post office is old and cold and dreary. And I was waiting in line. I went in. I was in a good mood. I was waiting in line to buy my book of stamps, and somebody in front of me was complaining about the weather, and I chimed right in. I absorbed them. I didn't observe. The third power principle is be heard, not hushed. Being heard means get yourself a new story. When we tell the same old story from the past, it depletes us. Growing up as a kid, I had an older brother and sister. And they always told me, "Oh, Tracie, what do you know? You're just a kid. You know, get out of here." And growing up as an adult, I kind of believed them. So when I needed to make a decision, I always had to ask somebody what they thought I should do. So I had to get a news story to be heard so you could hear my voice. My news story is that I just go to meditation and I go to my gut feelings inside and I do it and I say it the Tracie way. I speak my voice. So be heard, not hushed. Get a new story. And the fourth power principle is rejection is protection. We all don't like to hear the word no, especially when we want something really, really bad. And we all don't like to get rejected either by our friends. But to me, no just means not yet. It's not your time. There's a better way. So if you hear, I used to hear, no, I don't want to be your friend. No, you can't have the job. No, it's not on the menu. You have to keep coming back again and again and again and again. And that's how I got here. So no is really universe's way of protecting you, that it's not the right thing for you. There's another way. You know, there's this country pop star at the age of 14. She had a love affair for country music, and she definitely knows about rejection. So she had this love affair for country music, and she wanted to go to Nashville to record her own songs and her own records. But she was criticized by her friends in school because they thought that country music wasn't cool enough. But you know what? She went anyway. And she went to Nashville, and at the age of 15, she signed a record deal with one of the largest companies there, RCA. But RCA wouldn't let her sing her own songs. So she quit, and she walked away. That female pop artist is 10-time Grammy Award winner Taylor Swift. She knows a lot about rejection, and she had something special inside of her. And she knew it, and she didn't let anybody tell her any different. And just like her, you all have something special inside of you. You have music in you, you have ideas in you, you have leadership in you, you have books, you have teachership in you. And only you can bring it to life. And we need your light. We need your dream. We need what you have to bring to light. Just like Taylor Swift, we need Taylor Swift's music. I love her music. My daughter loves her music. So I know there's going to be a time when you're alone in your room and you're all alone and you don't have anybody to talk to, and only you can cheer yourself up. And I would like to share with you some ways that I cheer myself up and start. You could use it too to start the day. So I'm going to invite all of you to stand up, because you got to stand up to do these cheers. You can't be sitting. So everybody stand up. So what I want you to do is, with the loudest outdoor voice that you have, this is a time where you can be loud, all right? And I want you to repeat after me. Are you ready? I'm alive, I'm awake, and I feel great. I'm alive, I'm awake, and I feel great. I'm alive, I'm awake, and I feel great. I feel good, I feel fine, I feel this way all the time. Champions don't moan, champions don't quit, champions live a life that's rich, rich, rich. Champions don't moan, champions don't quit, champions live a life that's rich, rich, rich. Thank you. One last thing before I go. Be bright, be a star, be the shining light you are. Thank you.